Welcome back, boys and girls. Today I have a special treat for you. A Halloween Cinderella story called Cinderhazel, the Cinderella of Halloween. You can compare and contrast it to the Cinderella story that you know. Find the similarities and differences between the two. Here we go. It was another day in the dustbin for Hazel. While her two snobby stepsisters, Hermione and Hildy, had fun casting spells and muttering curses, it was Hazel's job to clean the floor. Hazel swept from one end of the room to the other until the entire floor was covered with a thick layer of dust and dirt. "You know, Hazel," said Hermione, "instead of sweeping you could fly that broom." "I'm not good at flying it," said Hazel. She scooped up a panful of ash and poured it right on top of her head. "This is what I'm good at," bellowed Hazel. D-I-R-T, dirt. "You're disgusting, absolutely yucky," said her stepmother. "All you think about is dirt. For all the time you spend in that fireplace, we ought to call you Cinderhazel." "Ooh, would you?" asked Hazel. That very night, while Cinderhazel played jacks with dirty lumps of coal, her stepmother and stepsisters got all spiffed up. They combed their frightful hair and coated their shoes with very clean shoe tar. "Going somewhere?" asked Cinderhazel. "Why, tonight's the witch's Halloween ball," said Hermione. "And," said Cinderhazel's stepmother, "rumor has it that Prince Alarming might come out of hiding tonight." "Yes," chortled Hildy, "and he is looking for a bride." "But, Cinderhazel, you can't come. We don't want to be seen with you." "Girls, girls," said the stepmother, "Cinderhazel couldn't get there if she wanted to. Just look at that cracked broom." The three of them laughed and laughed. Then they leaped onto their brooms and blasted out the window. "Oh, who cares?" muttered Cinderhazel. "Who wants to dance with some hoity-toity prince anyway?" But as the night grew darker and darker, Cinderhazel started to simmer. "They think they can tell me what to do. I'll show them." Cinderhazel squished her hat on her head, grabbed her broom, and jumped on. Crack! Snap! The broom broke. Cinderhazel growled. She crossed her eyes, she crossed her fingers, she crossed her legs and twisted around in a circle. Poof! Cinderhazel's hat turned into a pile of dirt. "Ah, nuts!" yelled Cinderhazel. "I'm staying home. Besides, there's not a single thing I like over at the palace." "That's what you think," said a voice. "Who's there?" asked Cinderhazel. A big cloud of smoke exploded in the middle of the room. There stood a short, plump witch dressed in dirty dish rags. "Wow, great clothes," said Cinderhazel. "Who are you?" "I'm your witchy godmother," replied the witch, "and I can't believe you're not going to the ball. Didn't you know there are 15 filthy fireplaces over there?" "Really?" asked Cinderhazel. "Really," said the witch, "and there's something else your stepsisters didn't mention. Prince Alarming is the king of dirt. If I were you, I wouldn't let them keep you from going." "By my witchy wig, you're right," pronounced Cinderhazel. Then she frowned at her broken broom. "Step aside," said the God Witch. "This is my job." She waved her arms around her head and said, "Bad old bats and a toad that's meaner, make this broom a vacuum cleaner." Boom! The broom vanished, and in its place sat a nice, slightly used Hooper vacuum cleaner. "Now toot off to meet your prince," said the God Witch. "And remember, My spells don't work past midnight." Cinderhazel sat down on the canister, grabbed the hose, and pulled back. Vroom, vroom, vroom went the vacuum cleaner. It flew up the chimney with Cinderhazel. Cinderhazel zoomed across the sky toward the palace. A magnificent trail of charcoal smoke billowed behind her. With a downward twist on the house, Cinderhazel and her vacuum swooped down the biggest chimney she'd ever seen. Cinderhazel landed on the hearth of the grand ballroom. The party was in full swing, and Cinderhazel was full of dirt. Cinderhazel was so yucky that even she wouldn't have known herself. "Look!" cried her stepsister Hermione, pointing at the mess that was Cinderhazel. "It's that dirty prince!" "Ooh!" squealed Hildy. "The prince came out of hiding at last!" "Princey, Princey!" all the witches cried as they tugged Cinderhazel out of the fireplace. "Hey, wait a minute!" cried Hermione, squinting at the dirty face. "That's not the prince! That's my stepsister, Cinderhazel!" "What's that thing with her?" asked Hildy. "It looks like a vacuum cleaner." "Ha, ha, ha!" she guffawed until everyone was laughing. But across the ballroom, two beady little eyes were watching from behind a trash can. "Stop that laughing, or I'll put a spell on you!" growled Cinderhazel. This made everyone roar even louder. So Cinderhazel crossed her eyes. She crossed her fingers. She crossed her legs and twisted around in a circle. Poof! All the witches' broomsticks turned to dirt. Dust covered everyone in the room. The witches were furious. "Clean up this mess, or we'll put a spell on you!" they screamed. "Oh, phooey!" said Cinderhazel. She chanted, "I have a newt and raven's wing. Rise up, old hopper, and make them clean." The vacuum cleaner rose into the air and headed for the witches. Vroom! It sucked up the dirt, but it also sucked up their socks, and it sucked up the punch and the paper decorations. "Make it stop!" yelled Hildy. Cinderhazel ran across the ballroom, grabbed the trash can, and heaved it at the hoopler. Just then the palace clock began to strike midnight. With the 12th dong, the witchy godmother's magic wore off. Poof! Brooms and party goodies blew across the room. The vacuum cleaner vanished, and kablunk! Cinderhazel's broom fell into cracked pieces on the floor. I will stop here and have you make a prediction. What do you think is going to happen next? Whose beady little eyes were watching Hazel from across the room? You'll find out in the next video. Bye!